College Football 25 has been out for a couple days now, and everybody's loving the game for the most part and trying to learn all the new features that are different from all the previous NCAA football games that are 11 plus years old. And one thing that is completely different is the way you pass the football. There's a new passing meter. You also use the left stick to place the football when you are throwing it. And that's what I'm talking about in this video, how to throw the football in College Football 25, but more specifically, you need to be using the left stick. So this video is going to be highlighting the left stick when you're passing the football in College Football 25. So I'm hopping into practice mode and I'm going to show you the importance of using the left stick and trying to place the ball in this game. But before we talk about the left stick, let's briefly just talk about the passing meter. So they have said there's no longer bullet passes and lob passes like there were back in the day. You used to just hold it down to throw a bullet pass and then tap the button to kind of lob it in the air. And that's kind of true, but at the same time, not really, because holding down the meter longer will throw a bullet pass, and if you just tap it and you barely do any power on the meter, it's going to lob it. So it's kind of the exact same thing. So you can see right here, I hold the meter down all the way and it throws a strike to the receiver. But then right here, I just tap it and you can see it's more of a rainbow pass. I think the big difference though is there is a large range there, right? You can just tap it, you can hold it all the way down or everything in between. So if the meter is blue, that means it's probably going to be an accurate pass. If it's yellow, it's going to be slightly less accurate, but it's probably not going to be a problem. I find that I feel like a lot of my passes are yellow. However, if it turns red, that means it's going to be an inaccurate pass. It's still catchable, but there's a good chance it'll be incomplete. It'll turn red if you're like on the run or about to get sacked, and then you hold down the meter too long. So if you hold it down too long into the red, it'll be an inaccurate ball. You can see that right here. I'm running with Jalen Milroe. I try to throw it as I'm moving, and because of that, it's in the red, and the guy drops the ball because it's not a great pass. But if you're not moving and you're just standing in the pocket and you're not about to get sacked, there probably won't even be a red section on the meter, or at least that's been my experience. It's normally just blue or yellow. Okay, so that's the new passing meter, but let's now talk about the left stick. That's what I really want to talk about in this video. So the developers have talked about how you can layer the football in this video game, and that is definitely true, especially when using the left stick. It's pretty simple. The direction you are pointing the left stick when you throw the football is where the football is going to go to. And then when you combine that with the passing meter, it really does allow you to layer the football way more than it did in the previous games. So to give you a little visual, here is an Xbox controller. If you are throwing the football and you push the left stick forward as you're throwing the football, it's going to throw that ball further down the field. If you hold the left stick down while you're throwing the football, it's actually going to underthrow it a little bit and the receiver's going to have to come meet the football. If you push it to the left while you're throwing the football, it'll throw it to the left of the receiver. If you push it to the right, it's going to throw it to the right of the receiver. But then think about everything in between. If I push it up and to the right, I can lead a receiver over across the middle of the field. Or if I hold it down and to the left, I can kind of throw a back shoulder throw towards the sideline. So here is me holding the stick down and to the left like I just talked about, and I threw a great back shoulder ball that is completed. Here is me holding the stick forward and throwing a bullet. The DB's in man coverage and it didn't get over the top of him, so it's not completed. And then lastly, I pushed the stick forward and I threw a lob pass. You can see it's a much more catchable ball, but again, the defensive back in man coverage is right there to make the play. But you can see by doing a lob pass and pushing the stick forward, it kind of threw it over the top and led the receiver. So here I'm testing the left stick placement with this crossing route. Right here, I pushed the stick to the left and I led the receiver and it was a really good ball. Right here, I pushed the stick to the right and I actually threw it behind the guy. You can see he has to reach for it. And then again, right here, I threw it way too far behind him and it honestly should have been picked off. Right here, I pushed the stick down, it underthrows it a little bit and the receiver has to come meet the football. I have found this very useful on crossing routes like this because if you lead him too far up the field, a lot of times the defender has enough time to recover. And you can see that right here. I pushed the left stick forward to try to lead him up the field, but that gave the DB enough time to undercut the route and again should have been picked off. So like I said, on these crossing routes in man coverage, I have found it very useful to pull the stick down because then the receiver has to come towards you and meet the football, and the DB can't undercut that route. So I think this is where it gets really useful, is when you're trying to throw it to a guy on the sideline. The defense is in cover one, so they're playing man on the outside. There's really no safety over the top, but I'm having trouble completing this pass because the DB is basically playing lockdown defense. So I decided to try the back shoulder throw. And you can see right here, I throw an absolutely beautiful ball that is completed that the defender had no chance of getting to. And I did it right here again. This is done by pushing the left stick down and to the left. So I'm throwing it towards the sideline and I'm forcing my receiver to come back to the football. And I continued to replicate this and it continued to work. So I myself started realizing the left stick is crucial when passing the football. So I decided to go to the other side of the field and try the exact same thing. I tried to lead the receiver, but again, the DB is all over it. So I hold the left stick down and to the right and bang, another great back shoulder throw. Now again, I was doing this against cover one defense, meaning it's man-to-man on the outside. There's only one safety over the top. So it's essentially a 1v1 just to that one guy on the outside. The safety would have cut off anything across the middle of the field, but on the sideline, it's fair game. So I wanted to switch it up and try some other defenses. So I did cover 3 zone here. And this cover 3 is basically the same thing as cover 1, except the guy on the outside technically isn't playing man-to-man, he's playing zone, but it still results in a 1v1. So again, this back shoulder throw is money. Here you can see it on the right side of the field as well. So again, I switched it this time to cover 2 zone, and I wanted to try it out here. So since that cornerback's no longer in man, he does not continue running with the wide receiver. So there is a gap between the cornerback and the safety where you have a shot to throw the football. But you can see it's a very tight window. It's hard to get it over that cornerback. A back shoulder throw definitely does not work in this scenario, so I pushed the stick forward and tried to lob it into that middle area. And you can see I completed it and then almost completed it here again. So this is a very tough window, but this is where layering the football is crucial. Here's a good look. I did like medium power, pushed the stick forward, and was able to complete this ball. Now obviously reading the defense is still important. On the right side of the ball, it's a lot easier to complete this pass because I have 2 guys running deep, so the safety has to pick one. So you can see the safety was sitting on that middle route, and so I threw it out wide and scored a touchdown. However, this time the safety played it a lot better, and regardless of how I layered the football, he was all over it. So this time I wanted to test that middle route that I've been talking about. I pushed the stick to the left, and you can see I led him too far. He was not able to catch that ball. So I pushed it a little less, and you can see we drop a beautiful dime here. So practice makes perfect. I found the great placement. I pushed a little forward, a little to the left, did medium power, and it drops a great ball. Now obviously this is practice, so I keep running the exact same plays over and over again, but I think actually going into practice and doing this will allow you to perform better in actual games. I wanted to show bad throws as well, so this is me pushing the left stick just straight forward, and you can see I lead him way too far. The safety comes down and intercepts it. Right here I hold the left stick down, terrible underthrown football, should have been picked off again. And that's where your simple checkdowns come in. This is an easy completion right here. And that's very important in cover 2 man when you're trying to throw a deep ball. It's going to be smothered for the most part. So you can easily just hit these underneath routes like this. But again, even on these routes, the left stick is very important. So on this clip, I pushed it back to the left behind the receiver, which allowed the DB to easily just come over and intercept it. But then right here, I pushed it to the right and a little bit up, and you can see it's a great ball. And that's an issue I've been having on routes that cross over the middle, like these slants and these in routes. I've been throwing it up the field, and that just allows the defender to undercut the route and pick it off like we talked about earlier. So you might need to throw it more side to side instead of vertically. Or also, like I said, pull the stick down. That way you force your receiver to come meet the football. And just to show you the deep route when it's cover 2 man, the safety and the cornerback are all over it. So again, those check downs are key. Just like this, and I pulled the stick down, forced my receiver to meet the ball. Same thing right here, hit the route over the middle, force him to come to the ball. Here I pushed the left stick too far to the left and I made him dive for the football. And just because they're in cover 2 man, that doesn't mean you can't hit deep routes. Here's a great ball. I push the stick forward a little to the right and I lead the ball over the middle. Great completion. So it's time to see if I could actually do this in a game. The defense appears to be in cover 1. I have my go route out to the left. So you already know I'm throwing that back shoulder throw. And I should have put it more to the left. And the DB actually played this pretty well, but it was still a completion. This time it looked like they were in cover 2, but I had the guy in the left wide open. I think I overcompensated trying to aim it to the left this time, and I threw it so far out of bounds. And by the way, I'm playing on All-American, so this isn't the easiest setting or anything. Again, another wide open wide receiver. I pushed this stick forward. This was pretty easy completion for a touchdown. This goes to show, like I said earlier, you do still have to read the defense. It looks like they're in cover one. I do the back shoulder throw, and the DB is sitting all over it. But here is finally a great example. They came out in cover one again. I throw it back shoulder to my wideout on the right, and it's a fantastic completion. Here is another great example. I pulled the left stick down and I forced my receiver to come to the ball. You can see the linebacker was sitting on it, but because I didn't throw it further up the field, he wasn't able to make a play. And that was an issue I kept personally having. And then I do the exact same thing right here for a touchdown. If I had not pulled the stick down on this would not have been caught. It was way too tight of a window. It was also important that I held the meter down pretty far. So I hope this video was helpful in showing how important layering the football is and how important using the left stick is. There's definitely a big learning curve, but as I've been figuring it out, I can see how much of an improvement this is from previous NCAA football games. So I'm loving this game, dude. We're finally back after 11 years. Follow me on Instagram at BringNCAA Back. Follow me on Twitter at TubbyLight, and then subscribe here for more videos just like this one.